I need your help with something. I've got a question.
Wait, you need my help? How desperate are
I
you?
need your help. I've got a
Okay.
question that's been burning in my mind. Actually, I think you've answered this for me before, but I want you to answer it on the show because I think the audience has a right to know as well. Um,
Okay.
Star Wars. You're a fan. That's not the
Some
question.
might say.
That's a statement. You are a fan. That's just true. So the Star Wars 2, Attack of the Clones. There's the clone troopers. They're there.
I'm aware.
Uh, they're also there in 3. They do a thing,
Yeah.
and some people die.
I'm a Star Wars fan.
Sure, see, it's right there. Then we get back to the original trilogy, and you get to 4, and now the clone troopers are gone, and they're stormtroopers,
Mm-hmm.
and they suck, and also I guess they're people now. Like they're not clones anymore, right? Stormtroopers aren't clones.
By the time 4 rolled around, you would have had 30 years between.
Yeah. So you're thinking all those clones are dead, like a Jango Fett Boba Fett thing, like, hey, Boba's like the one that grows normally, so he's not dead when all those other ones are dead. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially. Like Boba. Boba in 2 was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a few years between 2 and 3, so by the time.
But why would the Empire stop making more clones? They had the means. They had all the infrastructure up there. They knew they could control them. Why stop using clones and use all these dumbass can't shoot shit real people stormtroopers?
So I haven't watched this show, but when they did the extra episodes of the Clone Wars for Disney Plus, they did the Bad Batch show as well.
Right. I remember introducing the Bad Batch. Yes.
The Bad Batch show apparently tiptoes maybe not as delicately on that subject and talks a bit about that. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I've kind of avoided it. I know there's theories spawned from that show about this subject we're talking about.
Okay.
And I think because I like that animation, I like that period, I like that idea quite a bit, and it's a show that I just on the pile, man, of things to watch. And
I'm with you. You know what? I'm glad there's at least something hinting at an answer, and it's not just something that was, I don't know, hand wave it away.
I can't say for certain, but again, stuff I've seen around that show, because when it came out, I'm like, I hadn't heard a whole lot about it, but it's apparently good and apparently tackles that subject.
So I've seen all of Clone Wars. And I like Clone Wars. I actually want to rewatch it and listen to Civilized Age, the Austin Walker podcast that goes through.
Why wouldn't you want to listen to that, man?
Well, exactly, for sure. And also just a nice excuse to go back to a show I like.
Yep.
I love. It's actually probably my favorite Star Wars thing is the original Clone Wars 2D Gendy Tartakovsky.
The Cartoon Network one.
Yeah, the miniseries one.
Yep.
One that's the flat 2D. That's fantastic. I watched a little bit of Rebels and completely bounced off it because I just thought that
How far did you
so
get?
cheap. They got. It's been a while. I didn't get far.
Seasons?
I know.
Seasons.
Probably. I saw R2D2 and C3PO at one point. It was just like, hey, these guys are here, and we're just kind of doing a story that's near them, but they're not really about it. They look. It's very early.
If you can,
yeah.
There's some amazing Dave Filoni in that. He does some no baloney. That's peak Filoni.
I'm going to. Like you say, it is on my stack. Yeah. I've got that full series ready to watch.
Yeah.
I really bounced off it at the beginning because there's that the first town they're in. it is so desolate. There's like 2 crates to the side. It's like there is nothing in this fucking town.
What faces are in there? Like familiar faces outside of those droids.
I am familiar with an orange lady who has a big role in it. There might be a red spiky man somewhere in that show. Yes, I'm familiar with things that happen in Rebels. I also have all the Bad Batch, and I need to watch that too. I did watch those the Disney Plus Clone Wars that introduced the Bad Batch, and it's like that seems fine. I'll watch that someday.
I'd love to talk to you, specifically you, post Rebels, because there's some things that you and I have talked about when it comes to Star Wars that I think you would really appreciate this take on. And as far as just like the dichotomy of like Jedi and all that shit goes, like I would say that Rebels has the biggest balls out there.
It did seem like it was gesturing at interesting stuff of here's established Star Wars things, like here's what Jedis do, and then you have somebody going, well, why did Jedis do that? And actually prodding at some of that. And I know there's before The Mandalorian happened, Rebels has that Mandalorian girl as part of the team. And so I'm sure they get into some Mandalorian shenanigans there as well.
You want to know how fucked up you got me here? You brought up Star Wars. I didn't even open the note to just this.
Do we even have sound?
Oh yeah, I've checked that.
Okay, that's good.
But we've been talking about the Indie World Showcase instead of Star Wars.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean it's Star Wars is basically an Indie World Showcase.
We're letting people know that we might talk about video games, which is what we kind of do here.
We'll get there, maybe.
For those of you who are tuning in and you see 2 faces, I'm Bobby, the host of the show. Chase Kinnicky is the gamer on the go that hangs out with me every week, multiple times, who is not here, to nobody's surprise, but to our delight. Johnny Amazich.
To nobody's disappointment.
He's apparently sick of us, not nearly as much as we are sick of him. I won't even say he's on assignment. He's on assignment of becoming a better human, I hope.
He apparently does not have the Rona.
No
but
Rona.
He
my
caught
Sharona.
something, and he's feeling shitty. So we wish him well. But I guess Bobby, we're just gonna have a good podcast this week.
We are going to have a good podcast this week. Let's talk about that. We were going to do a deep dive. We're going to push that to next week because Johnny was somewhat in charge of that. And we're going to save that for you all next week. So tonight, Chase and I are going to do just a classic, what you've been playing. We're going to cover some news. Tonight, you can expect to hear a little more about that wonderful device called the Playdate. Chase has a sickness. You're going to hear about that as well.
Sure. Not a Johnny sickness, but, maybe even a more severe sickness.
A more severe sickness. We're going to talk about 10 Minutes Till Dawn. We're going to talk about Haiku the Robot. We're going to talk about V Rising. And then we're going to talk about the news. So we want you to be here. We want you to hang out. Make yourself cozy. Ask some questions. Pour yourself a drink. Get a snack. Because we're going to talk about video games right now. And Chase, let's talk about your sickness.
Yeah, okay. I've got a virus, like a digital virus.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm still playing that Digimon game. Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory.
Not.
Did you know I'm still playing that game?
Did you see
my Switch is still a liar, and it says I've played, I don't know, 540 hours. At this point, I think it's higher than that. It's
I don't believe you.
Like 580. You don't believe me? How? You don't believe me that the Switch is lying? You think I've actually played 580 hours of that, or you think
I don't
that
believe
number
that the
is
Switch
wrong?
is capable of doing anything at any point of consistency? Frame rates or hour count.
Sure. Well, somehow the time keeps ticking, even when that thing is asleep. So, and I've been using that to my advantage to
when
raise.
When the Switch sleeps, does it dream of electronic sheep?
There is no sheep Digimon in this game that I am aware of. So no, apparently not. I'm still playing that game. It's fine. It's not.
Playing's a very loose term.
I actually have been trying to get back and play. There are 18 chapters of that game. I'm on chapter 15. So I'm getting there. I'm nearing the end. And it's fine. It is a lot like that first game. I think that first game is great. And this game it's that, but it's
When's
the
it
thing
come
with
out?
the Digimon Survive that comes out in July, I believe.
Okay.
Which has no association other than Digimon. There'll be some of those same monsters, but none of the same characters. Different kind of game entirely. But yeah, I'm trying to wrap this up, and it's been okay. I really don't like that it is such a parallel story to the first game, and yet it's been a while since I played that first game, so I also don't really know what's going on, and it kind of doesn't hold your hand on how the things parallel. But I remember when I first started that game, pretty much right after I beat the first one, yeah, it's like, this is too close. I don't want to play this because it's all the same areas, it's all the same stuff. Sure. This feels just like playing New Game Plus at this point, and I didn't want that either. So it's in this weird middle ground where it's too it gets too close to the original, but also it's too much of its own thing, and it's just kind of a weird thing all around. So I've just kind of been buttoning through the story, not really understanding what's going on or how it goes to the larger story involved. I'm seeing characters that I remember and go, oh yeah, you were an NPC in the first game. I don't remember what you did, and I don't know why you doing this might affect what happens in the other game. But it's an enjoyable enough experience to go around and raise the Digimon. There are a few new ones there, especially like super strong ones that you have to go through a bunch of hoops. It's I didn't really do Chocobo raising in Final Fantasy VII, but I'm sure, and I guess you haven't either. You don't know anything about Final Fantasy VII other than the bit you've played. But that game had this mini game to it where you would raise Chocobo and you'd have to breed them and race them and do a bunch of bullshit. That was this hours-long side experience. And Digimon feels like it's doing the same thing, where I have to evolve Digimon and then de-evolve them, because every time they evolve one way or another, they get more ability points. And some of the higher-ranking Digimon, you need to have 80 ability points, and you only get a couple each time you evolve or de-evolve one. So it's this thing, this constant cycle of raising it to a level, taking it to this specific place, evolving it, then immediately de-evolving it so I can get those couple of points, and then going through that process again. And then it's just a lot of waiting too, because the way this game works, and the reason I've put 500 and whatever fucking hours in it, the game says that I have, it's because it has basically a daycare center where you can leave the Digimon for 2-ish hours, and when you come back they'll have raised so many levels, but they stop after 2 hours, so you have to go and reset that. And at this point it's just me checking in, evolving and de-evolving some Digimon, then getting back out and waiting for another couple hours until I can do it all over again. It's very tedious.
You gotta stop.
But I do need to stop, and I'm on chapter 15. I'm getting there. There's really only 2 more Digimon I want to have, and then I've already got a fucking incredible team. I should just blow through the rest of the game with these guys. But like I said, I've got a sickness anyway. So I'm looking forward to Survive, though. That'll be good. It'll be good to play a different kind of game than this. And so have they. They've been pushing it back, and
that's true.
Then not talking about it at all, and maybe it was dead, and now it's survived, and now I don't know.
It will survive. Talk to me about the play date. I have not even been able to touch it. I've actually been at the office working this week. We've had some folks in town, and it has been nice to do a little meet and greet, but I just have not. I've had some very long days, and then getting other things ready. I hadn't even downloaded the new games that came out on Monday.
So you're saying you've left your home and you were on the go and you didn't take your playdate with you?
Yeah, I just wasn't really wanting to take that with me to the location I was at.
I can understand that. I took mine. Where did I go? Can't remember where I went, which is kind of sad. But I went somewhere and I thought, oh, you know what? I'm probably going to get to this place like 15 minutes early. I'll bring my play date, and I can just play a little bit of one of these games until somebody's ready for me. And when I got there, people had also gotten there early, and I didn't get to play with the play date, and that was very sad.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I've been playing some Playdate games. That device, really good. If you want to hear more about the device itself and the first couple weeks of games, Bobby and I actually did a podcast together on it on my channel, Gamers on the Go. You can check that out, gamersonthego.com. We'll talk about it more at the end of the show. We also had our good friend Jiggy-san join us, Matt Jaguar, and we had a great time talking about our thoughts on the Playdate. But what I want to talk to you about, Bobby, is more of the games that I played after. And we're going to keep doing more shows on Gamers on the Go about more weeks of content from the Playdate. So you might hear more in-depth discussions at that point. But for now, I want to talk to you about a game called Lose Your Marbles? Lost Marbles?
Yeah. Sweet Baby.
Lose Your Marbles. Yeah. And I think it's interesting. I think it's kind of cool. It is. It's kind of a choose your own adventure story, except the way you choose your adventure is skill based. You go through a pretty traditional RPG. It feels very Pokemon-esque when you start it. By you're about to go to a professor's lab, and you're in lost your marbles. Thank you. You're about to go to the lab of a professor, and your parents are at home with you, and you're about to leave. You're not leaving town. You're not going on an adventure, but you are heading out to go to this lab. And as that goes on, as things play out, every decision that gets made goes through a little mini game, a little puzzly mini game, where you control a ball or a marble, I suppose, based on the name, and you have to navigate these areas by using the crank. And you use the crank. You only use the bottom hemisphere of the crank, but basically you're trying to tilt the world in such a way to let your marble run around and navigate the level, and then also crash into different options. And whichever option you crash into enough times to shatter, that is the option that you choose. And so there are bad outcomes, there are good outcomes, there are kind of neutral outcomes. It's very Citizen Sleeper. But it seems like the bad ones are in really easy places. Like this is where the ball would naturally go if you didn't affect it. And then if you want a better outcome than that, you need to manipulate it in such a way and use the crank precisely to get it to a spot where you're going to hit those better outcomes. And it's kind of neat. I like what it's doing. The writing's pretty good. The graphics are fun and simple.
It's got I think out of the stuff that's I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the stuff coming out from Panic
in the season, you mean?
In the season, right. I think this might have the most polish to it.
Yeah. Casual Birder.
Casual Birder is really way up there. This has just got like a lot to it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I haven't played too much of it. I got to a point, you lose your dog at one point, and you're trying to chase down your dog. And I got to a sandwich shop, and the writing in the sandwich shop I very much enjoyed. But you're trying to build this sandwich for your dog that your dog might like to use as bait to try to get him back. And I ended up putting the guy's like, okay, what meat does your dog like? And you're going through the different protein options, and before I kind of knew what the game was about exactly, I was just hitting the first thing I saw, which ended up being the bad option. So I made a protein powder, cauliflower, nice. And I forgot what else was on it, like maybe barbecue sauce or something.
Hell
Like
yeah.
that was the sandwich. um,
Hell yeah.
and even when you get through and you've built this sandwich, they even use they even have like a naming convention they use with it to correspond to the things that you chose. And then the dog comes and eats it and runs away. Um, it's a neat thing. I like it. I think the only thing that bums me out a little bit, and maybe it would make the game too easy to do it the way I'm thinking of. But the way the game works currently is like I said, you only use the bottom half
Right.
of the crank. So you can only manipulate the levels so far to the left or right, and I really just want full control. I want to be
Sure.
able to flip the level entirely. I understand that probably makes things too easy, or maybe makes it too difficult to make interesting puzzles that way if they
Yeah.
give you that much freedom. But there, you definitely do hit points because there's no resistance on the crank that oh, the game's not tracking where my crank is anymore because I'm outside of the bottom hemisphere, and I guess I need to go back, and it feels like it loses some of that precision where I feel like oh, I think this should work, and then oh wait no, that it doesn't take my inputs anymore after this threshold, and that's a bit of a bummer, but. Again, the rest of the game is pretty cool. I think I don't know how long it is, but the choose your own adventure style of it makes me interested in going back for multiple playthroughs and seeing what the other options are that I
We
didn't
talked
choose.
about for casual Mondays. Is that this Monday coming up? Well, is that the 22nd? I think Monday the
Sure.
22nd. Might be wrong
Let
on
me
that.
check.
23rd.
23rd.
23rd. We're gonna maybe do like a playdate showcase where we use that
Yeah.
mirror app and play some of these games on stream. Probably bounce around between a few of them and just give everybody that wants to hang out with us that night a little taste of what those games look like and some of these things that Chase is talking about here. So some cool shit that could be coming up on Monday night. And there's a really great podcast with that Chase did, as he mentioned, and a good friend of ours hangs out with us there.
That's true. Bobby, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a few things. Consider this more of just like a hot take from me tonight on three things.
All your takes are hot.
All my takes are hot. That sounds like a country song. I
Sure.
have I've played a lot of this. This is probably the game I played the most out of the ones I'm going to talk about tonight. It's called 10 Minutes Till Dawn. This is a free demo of, I guess, like a pre-release, almost like a prologue of a game coming out called 10 Minutes or 20 Minutes Till Dawn, where I guess we can say this now. We have our first official Vampire Survivors like out there.
Yeah, sure.
So it's, if you are familiar with Vampire Survivor and if you followed our show, you absolutely should be because we talked about it here. This is a take on that gameplay. Chase, how would you pitch Vampire Survivor? You've played it more than I have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a twin stick shooter.
Yeah.
Vampire Survivor, I guess, is really just a one stick shooter.
Yeah, you're moving them around. But
Yeah,
it's
because it
kind
just
of a horde
attacks.
based one stick, twin stick,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a top down. You're
run based game.
navigating. Yeah, sure. It definitely run based. It's got some roguish elements to it. Yeah, you're walking around, and like you said, it's kind of a horde thing. You have waves of enemies that are coming at you, and you're trying to collect new power ups that can help you fend off the increased amount of enemies as the timer continues to run.
Thanks. So 10 Minutes Till Dawn is like they claim to have like Lovecraftian style enemies that are coming in there, but it's a very similar thing in the demo or whatever this one is. You've got 10 minutes to get through this and survive till dawn. What I think is cool about this one, not too dissimilar from Vampire Survivor. There's multiple classes there, like 5 or 6 classes.
Mm-hmm.
And there seems to be a lot of classes you can unlock here. There's a lot of different starting weapons you can unlock, so you can mix those around. Like you can pick a different character with a shotgun. Each character has different perks to it. It's got a really cool look to it. I like the color palette quite a bit for this one. It's made by a studio called Flan, and they have another game out. I don't know
Like
much
the
about
dessert?
it. FLANNE,
Oh, okay. Not like the dessert.
not like the dessert. But it is about figure out your best build. You are upgrading after collecting the little pips on the screen. That lets you do things like you can become an electro mage, you can become a pyro mage, you can do a little ghost friend that comes out and helps as a turret. It's just really well done, and Vampire just didn't resonate with me the way that this has. And I don't know when the full release comes out, but I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, we looked at it on Steam after a show, and I think it just said coming soon and didn't have any sort of release window for it.
Yeah, this was pretty cool though, and this is free, so you can download this right now. It's Windows only. I don't know if it's been Steam Deck verified, but I can let you know tomorrow if it is.
Sure,
And
I can't imagine that it would be poor to play on a Steam Deck. It seems fine.
yeah, so that's one game I've been checking out. Another one
I think maybe the most important thing to mention though is the art style. I think the art style of this game is really cool, and that is the one thing that is immediate apparent of like, this might be better than Vampire Survivors. It's just the art style and the art execution. I think is really nicely done. The thing I probably like the most, or at least like the most watching, I don't know if I'd like the most playing. It's got kind of a fog of war to it. Yeah. Where there's a light around your character, so anytime enemies kind of come into that radius, now you can really see them and go, oh shit, there's things I need to fight. But when they're off in the distance, it's a bit of a gradient, and it gets to the point where all you can see are their eyes, and it's very much that kind of cartoon. You see the yellow eyes of a wolf that's back in the bushes. And it just, for this kind of a game that's a very survival based thing, it's just haunting in a good way. Like that is how I want to feel in a game like this, where I'm just trying to survive, and I applaud them for that art direction.
One of the characters, their passive or static ability, however, it's not really static. Like every third shot that they fire, a wave of fire goes out with them. That does, like, it just inflicts burn. It's not a ton of damage, but it has a ongoing one, like little shit like that. So you can choose your currency and unlock them. It's cool. I'm excited for this one.
But those bursts of fire, those little fireballs, they also give you light, and you see as those travel through, you get to see the light. The lighting in this game is just really well done. It's got a limited color palette that I like. I think it looks better than Vampire Survivors.
Oh, yeah.
But I would like to try it for myself, which I can't do because I don't have a thing that plays games like that. I guess I have like a pretty old busted laptop that should be able to play it, but
yeah, it doesn't require a whole lot.
I can wait for a Steam Deck.
The next game is one that you said, Bobby, this isn't a game that I would like, but I think you should check it out, and that is Haiku the Robot. And this is a straight up Metroidvania. Again, limited color palette, really sharp looking game. Apocalyptic setting, or post apocalyptic setting, I'm sorry. You are Haiku, a tiny little robot. You are running around looking for upgrades, fighting bigger, scarier robots. You have a sword, and you can get upgrades to those abilities. There's different biomes you can go into, and each biome changes the way that this game looks in a really interesting way.
He's like colors. A little bomb, isn't he?
He is like a little bomb. He's a little bomb, little roly-poly looking dude.
Like, don't you actually explode to like double jump or something like that?
I haven't.
Maybe that comes later.
I haven't gotten that yet.
I'm watching the Steam trailer, and I'm seeing some jumpy explosion stuff. Yeah,
I got the ability to slide down walls now, or stick and like kind of bounce around walls, which is very helpful. One of the things that I find very interesting about this game is there is an ongoing currency that you can get in the game, and there's also a bank within the game. So you can find this post, and a bird will come, and it's like, hey, do you want to take away your coin and basically stash it? And you say, yeah. And then if you hit that post with your sword, coins will just start pouring out of it. And that's how you can just take money with you. Money is also the life force for you. So you will just, like, if you start to take, you have like 4 or 5 dots of health. And as your health goes down, you start to crank yourself. as you're cranking yourself,
All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
you're with me.
Uh huh. Oh yeah.
Bits and pieces of you start to pop off, and
Oh, buddy. You know, I
uh,
if I crank myself too much, I start to pop off. You're right.
heyo, but you use like 4 or 5 coins per crank, and
Mm.
so as long as you have money, you can heal yourself, and that's
That's the American healthcare system right there.
there it is. So that's an interesting thing to incorporate in a game like this, but it's got a very great handle to it. Mr. Morris Games makes it. This came out in April. I've had it downloaded for a bit. Finally wanted to get it around to putting some time into it. I think the last 2 games we've talked about so far, which I have not updated this here. This is Haiku for those watching. The
Bobby,
robot.
what else do you use your currency for
I don't know.
other than health?
I have not found a spot to like cash that in yet.
Okay. So those upgrades you got were just like in the
No,
world. You didn't have to buy those upgrades.
that was from so there's been 2 things that I've gotten from clearing a boss or like a mini boss. The one was a big boss, one was a mini boss. And
Big boss, you say.
big boss. So I'm gonna put in more time with this. 10 minutes till dawn in Haiku the Robot. Chase, I'd like to make some quick looks of these games. I think they're worth checking out there. So maybe we'll record some of those soon. And the game that I'm probably the most excited for out of all of these is one that came out yesterday in early access, and I got it downloaded. I was exhausted last night, and I got the server set up and started to check out a game called V Rising. V Rising is really fucking cool. So it is you're a vampire, and this is an action RPG / base builder, and you
God,
are.
that sounds like a Bobby ass game if I ever heard one.
Dude, this is a fucking Bobby game. So me, Johnny, and my cousin Jason, we got a G Portal server set up, and we can build. We're going to be building on the same server together, but it feels, so far at least, it feels way more action focused. But when you look at it, it's going to have the hotbar at the bottom that you can drag your weapons into. You are crafting gear, but one of the cool things that I found about this is that, like, you the first thing you craft is a sword. The next thing you craft is an axe, but it's like you're holding 2 hatchets, and there's a different attack pattern with those. Then you start to craft clothes like armor. It's really fucking cool how they're doing it. You're chopping down trees, busting up rocks, building your mansion.
Is this just isometric Valheim?
It's very much that concept.
Okay.
Combat's tighter so far than what Valheim was. I think this looks better graphically than what Valheim did. I haven't gotten too deep into the base building, but so far it looks really robust. Like, it's nothing about this, like when you start to blend these things, it's hard to, like, well, it had really good this, but that part of it sucked, you know. And so far, for being early access, I think that it feels really good on all fronts. Like, you can cast some spells. One of the cool things about this is in the center, it kind of looks like what the 2 orbs on Diablo 2, like your blue and red orbs, look like. It's in the center.
Sure.
That's your blood tank. And if you have blood, you can use that as your mana almost. Like, your blood is going to go and empower your ability to heal yourself and do other shit. So if there's a living creature, if you start to hit it a few times, it's going to pop up and be like, feed. And you can just basically finish it off by feeding it and getting its blood. Or you can just finish the attack and kill it. That's been really neat. There are some cooldown mechanics with that, but nothing too terrible. I gotta say, it made a very strong first impression. I was exhausted last night, had like a 12-hour workday, got home, just wanted to check it out. And I will be putting a lot of time into this weekend. And I would venture off to say that you'll probably see this game being played on Friday nights if Johnny is up for it at some point in time. It feels like a really good one of those for our casual Fridays. But
I got the Steam pulled up. Did you mention that this is early access?
yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
It's $20. They got a few things right away that you can use. So they've got DLC available right away, like a founders pack.
DLC? The game's not even done.
I know. You can buy some in-game shit. They've got like a weapons pack that you can get. They've got some cosmetic stuff that you can get. Apparently, there's going to be some shape-shifting, and they've got one of the things you can get is like an old lady that you can shapeshift into that looks kind of funny. It's gotten very good reviews. It's sitting at very positive with over 3,000 reviews on Steam so far. People seem to really be into it. It's got a neat character creator, really like nice style design for what you can do for the vampire. I had seen this game pop up. I didn't pay too much attention to it, and then I started to pay a lot of attention to it. And I gotta say, it's really cool. It's Windows only. I didn't mention this earlier. Haiku the Robot can be played natively on a Mac. If you wanted to check that out. And then 10 Minutes Till Dawn was only, we did talk about that. That's Windows only. I don't know. I said it earlier, kind of like in a tongue-in-cheek method, but like I should be getting tomorrow my Steam Deck. And
that'll be cool.
I'm hoping that I can play this game on my Steam Deck. That would be really cool.
I bet I'm going to have a billion questions for you once you get that Steam Deck.
I bet that you should come over this weekend, have a gin and tonic, and check it out.
That's possible. We'll see. We'll see about that.
Those are 3 games that like I've probably put the most time into Haiku, and that's like maybe a 2-hour block. So everything else, not vampire, but 10 Minutes Till Dawn, I've probably put 30-40 minutes into that, and then maybe a solid 30 minutes to an hour into V Rising. So very early takes on all those. I like all these games a pretty good way, but I don't want to get too far into them because I think I'm nearing the end of my first run on Citizen Sleeper, and I'm feeling really good about that.
Do you think you'll do a second run?
It depends. Like what I'm hearing, like I've heard from some people or read from some people on Twitter that they wrapped the game up and they were looking at the achievements, and some of the shit about ending the game, like I never even met this person. Which
part of me, I'm of two minds. Part of me wants to just play and squeeze out every bit of content from Citizen Sleeper because I really just enjoy playing that game, and the other part of me, that Shadow of the Colossus part of me, says like this needs to be a one and done. I need to play the game, and that's my story, and that's my experience out of it, and I don't want to see how the sausage is made. I want to just accept that this was my story, that was my experience, and then put it on its little pedestal.
I think that's what they want you to do. Like we didn't talk about this whenever we really spent some time. Well, we talked about it and then nobody heard it, but we have a quick look up you should watch. Anyway, that autosave on that game is fucking rapid. Like
really?
Seconds. So I had done something. I'm like, oh boy, I did not want that to be the outcome here. I'm like, I'm going to be a trash human and save scum. And the game's like, no, you're not. You've done this. This is your story. This is how you're going to have to fucking deal with your consequences. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? This is terrifyingly liberating.
It's kind of refreshing.
Like this is what you have. Like, and that's very much what this game is. And I think, not to open this can up again, but like we get into these analysis paralysis type situation where we're trying to analyze every single aspect of like min-maxing a game, and I'm guilty of this. Like I want to have the absolute best fucking ability to play the game to the best ability. And you get into it, and then it becomes more about doing all these things and be like, okay, well now I can play the game, versus the game. Like games are smart enough to give you what you need when you're supposed to have it. And I think that, we ask developers to trust us a lot as gamers. Well, maybe we should trust them a little bit too, that like they're going to give you what you need to take this game in. And
I think
this
that's
is a,
fair.
this is a game, as we talked about, that you should fucking have to deal with your consequences. That's what this is about.
It's something I think I mentioned in the quick look, and I certainly mentioned it in the part that nobody got to hear. But this is a game that trades in choices
Yep.
and interesting choices for the player. And so often you get games that give you choice, but only a temporary choice, because you'll get these skill trees in games that they'll give you enough points, you're going to fill it all out. So it's really just, what do you want when? And even then, a lot of those choices just end up being, this gives me another 5% accuracy on when using pistols. And like, who the fuck cares?
Right.
Like, does that really change your gameplay all that much? Unless you're like some super min-maxer. Is that really an interesting choice? And the answer is no. Those aren't interesting choices. But Citizen Sleeper, because of its kind of draconian way that it autosaves, and with all the choices available to you, and with the limited amount of resources, like that game forces you to say, I'm not going to do that thing. I'm not going to help this person. I'm not even going to talk to this person. And I think that is really cool.
Yeah, it's fucking rad.
When we've had so many games that just pander to. I mean, God of War was kind of like this for me. I know you like that game, and I enjoyed my time with it. But that game was, here's a skill tree. You're kind of going to get everything on this, and none of it really matters. There's like a couple of different attacks. You don't need them, but it's just a thing you can do as you're playing the game. Whereas Citizen Sleeper, every decision has a real weight behind it, and that's what makes the game the game.
Yeah, and I think that here, look at us. Here we are again.
People can hear us this time, so it's different.
The tabletop aspect, you don't get to save scum tabletops. Like, that's, you fucking play the game, you move your shit around the board, like that's kind of it.
The only bit of save scumming is that there is one skill that you can unlock that lets you re-roll your dice once per day.
Yeah, and that is clutch. That's a great thing. But you should absolutely play Citizen Sleeper and let yourself
I should play Citizen Sleeper. I should stop fucking playing Digimon so I can go back to Citizen Sleeper. I need to. I just need to get Digimon out of here so I can be free again.
Yeah. So we talked about Digimon. We talked about Playdate, specifically Lost Your Marbles. I gave you all some hot takes on 10 Minutes Till Dawn, Haiku the Robot, and V Rising. You'll definitely be hearing about V Rising more in the weeks to come, so I'll have a little bit more robust take on that here soon. We did go into a little bit of why Citizen Sleeper is one of the most important games to play this year. And if you need more convincing, go watch that quick look over on YouTube. Chase, how do you feel about getting into the news a little bit?
It's gonna sound bad for a bit, sorry, but I'm gonna do this. The breaking news. Yeah, Johnny's gone, so again, like always, I have to do his job for him. And I'll read these news stories. To be fair, Johnny did at least include the news stories. All I'm doing is reading them, so I'll give him some credit. He was not completely useless. Let's get into it. Bobby, we talked a little bit about Final Fantasy VII earlier, and that you know very little about it outside of the part 1 of the remake, right?
Correct. I have.
Yeah. Still, it baffles me that you don't know about the thing.
It's pretty cool, though, right?
It's amazing. I still think I don't think you're lying. I just don't think you know that you know. I can't imagine that you have not gotten spoiled on this by osmosis.
I just didn't care enough back in the day, man. Like, here's what I'll say. I've said it before, I'll say it again really quick. I had a chip on my shoulder to this game because at the time, people were trying to, like, always pit Cloud versus Link from Ocarina of Time. And
oh, well, yeah, you can't. You have your allegiance. Yes.
Yes.
I understand that.
I was very much like, I didn't want to hear anything about it. I didn't care because I had Zelda. And I thought that at that point in my life, I was a dumb gamer and thought, oh, I only like this. I can't like that. Still are. Yes.
Yeah. That's fair. I'm glad you have kind of turned a corner. It's still extremely interesting to me to see you talk about the remake as when we played it, not knowing where the stuff came from, and that's cool. You're getting you know that it's a different experience from the original game, but you just don't know how, and part of that is amazing to me.
It's a pure experience.
Yeah, it is, and Johnny and I not being pure in any sense of the word, but in this case specifically. It is interesting to us. Anyway, Square Enix says, actually not Square Enix, Tetsuya Nomura, the director, the guy, the Final Fantasy guy, the Kingdom Hearts guy. He says that Square Enix will be making announcements regarding the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII next month, and it sounds like part of that might be a reveal of Final Fantasy Remake Part 2.
Do you think that comes out next year?
I guess that wouldn't surprise me. The assets, a lot of the assets are going to be there. You're not going to make an entirely new Cloud and Tifa. You already got those models.
They did show off some of the visions and shit there at the end.
Yeah, there's certainly going to be new stuff to build. You're going to be in new areas. I'm really interested to see what that game does if that game gets more open. Because the first remake part 1 is pretty linear, and that's fine. It's a pretty linear part of the game, but a pretty linear part of the original game. But at this point in the original game, you kind of get a lot more of the world opened up to you, and
that game is so good.
I'm interested to see how remake part 2 deals with that. So we might get to hear about it next month. We'll see. Maybe that's part of Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. That would make the most sense to me. They still haven't said much about Final Fantasy 16 either, so maybe we'll hear about both of those things. Anyway, moving on.
Do you think both of those come out the same year? That seems. I don't see that being the move.
I still think there's hope that one of those titles happens this year. I kind of doubt it, but part of me thinks it's possible. I could also see it being a remake. Remake is 23, the other one's 24, or the other way around.
Yeah. That seems like a better outcome.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. It's tough.
It's tough.
I didn't play that much of 15. It feels weird to be interested and excited about 16. Like there's a whole Final Fantasy game that is modern and apparently good, and I just didn't play a whole lot of it, and I can just do that if I wanted to, and I don't. It's an odd feeling. Remake part 2 though, like that is we all definitely finished Remake and had a good time with it. Let's move on to hey Bobby.
Yeah.
Do you remember that little game called Genshin Impact?
Oh, Genshin? I've heard of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Apparently it's done now. They're just not supporting it anymore. They're moving on to their next thing. That's partly not true. That there will continue to be Genshin Impact content. Don't you worry.
It's not going away.
But MiHoYo, the developer of Genshin Impact, has announced their newest game. It's an urban fantasy action RPG, which sounds like a lot of things stuffed into one. And its name is Zenless Zone Zero. Triple Z, as they call it.
Wow.
I call it. It's coming to PC, iOS, and potentially more things. This story...
Gotcha?
I mean, how could it not be? I think all their games have gotcha elements to it. I forgot what the series was before Genshin that they make, but that series also is heavily gotcha-fied. But let's read the the press release here that we got from Gamatsu. Zenless Zone Zero is a brand new game IP set in a post-apocalyptic metropolitan city. It features an engaging story with a futuristic art style, distinctive characters, and an exhilarating action-oriented combat system. Players will play the role of a proxy and embark on an adventure with a diverse group of partners to conquer the unknown enemies and unravel the mysteries in New Eridu, the last shelter for urban civilization. The rest of this press release goes in further. It's got some screenshots to it. I would say this looks... this feels like a mix of Scarlet Nexus and Destiny. Maybe Destiny more the story of like, hey, this is the last city and we're all defending it. But it has a bit of fantasy. I mean, this girl here's got a sword, but also that sword is glowy techno shit, and she's got a pair of headphones on. So I'm gonna say it's towing that line between it's techno fantasy. Yeah, sure, yeah, I guess kind of Jet Set Radio future, but swords. Maybe that's even giving it too much credit. I don't know. It looks okay. I mean, yeah, it looks fine. We'll hear more about that. It's the makers of Genshin, so it's going to look nice. It's going to have a ton of money behind it, and it'll for sure have some gacha mechanics. So look forward to hearing more about that game relatively soon. Actually, you know what? I want to know more about what's that Chinese Monster Hunter looking game that was just like the friendliest shit that had like the pop song behind it. Was that shown at last E3 or not E3? But
it looked really like an awesome style to it. I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. This kind of seems like maybe it plays in the same space. I'm not sure. Let's move on to our final news story of the night, and it's I guess it's a bummer. It's going to be a bummer for some people for sure. The people who care. Bethesda, the Microsoft people, they have announced that Redfall and Starfield are both being pushed to the first half of 2023. In their statement, they say the teams at Arcane Austin, makers of Redfall, and Bethesda Game Studios, who are making Starfield, have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished versions of them.
Here's what I say.
That's a bit different. That's a bit of a different thing for Bethesda wanting to put out a game that's not buggy.
I will say there's always an exception to a rule. Mm-hmm. But people, for the love of God, have to stop assuming that games that have not shown you gameplay will come out the same year you're expecting them. It's just not going to happen. And
I think that's fair. If you don't know how this fucking game plays, then I don't think you can say that game's coming out in the year that they say
it's not. And like Starfield shown a cinematic. That's it. Breath of the Wild had only shown a cinematic. The next game that's going to say the same shit is God of War Ragnarok, which has only shown a cinematic. Mm-hmm. I don't like it.
Breath of the Wild had some kind of gameplay in there. You saw like Link flying through a cloud or zipping through a...
What I'm saying is
teleporting through some ground.
And this is me moving Link to that mountaintop or anything like that. Like until you see that, those games aren't coming out. The other piece of this whole thing is I also, like, more specifically to Bethesda, that game was they're either trying to polish this up to a very good level and get past some of those bugs, or that thing is still riddled with the fucking bugs. I don't think it's a new engine. I really don't. I think it's a more powerful version of that same engine. Mm-hmm. And they were supposed to show that off in a few weeks. And they still might. Who knows? But I would be hesitant.
Yeah, the statement went on to say, we want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall and Starfield. That energy is a huge part of what inspires all of us. every day and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. We can't wait to share our first deep dive. Ooh, deep dive. We might need to call our lawyers. Into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield soon. Thank you for your support. I'm going to say I don't support you, Bethesda, but that's. But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised. We do have Summer Game Fest and other events happening in the next month or two. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of gameplay, but also knowing that, hey, these games aren't coming out this year. It's still going to be another 6, 7, 8 months before you see these games on a shelf.
This is the other problem. I mean, you've danced around it, not so gently, but they've got a habit of putting out pretty broken shit. And if Bethesda just gives you Fallout in space and it's busted after this delay, it's gonna like this. They have to deliver in such a way now, because people already had their fucking claws out ready. I just really think that they've got to show something pretty special for people to accept. And this is not only on them, but being part of Microsoft now. Microsoft at this date, May 18th, has no games, no exclusive games, no big AAA games coming out this year. There's some rumors about what they might be doing to offset that, but I think with them buying all these studios and having the Power Game Pass and all that, like we've for years now, 3 years, I think 4 years, we've been talking about the studios that they're collecting, and we're not getting anything this year. COVID aside, game development's tough. Crunch is a motherfucker. I'm not saying that they should.
There was the joke out there that Sony has made more games on the Xbox this year than Microsoft has, which is because of MLB having to go up there, which is kind of funny.
Well, you can then say that Deathloop's on PlayStation, but that's Microsoft.
Absolutely. You certainly could.
There's one other game I want to talk about really quick. This news is broken.
Psychonauts as well.
Anything else you want to add on Bethesda before I close up with this?
I still don't like Bethesda. That's my thing. Also, if people want to play a slightly broken space Fallout, go play the Outer Worlds. It's right there. That is what you're looking for.
Yes. There was a game that came out a couple years ago that I really did enjoy. I didn't finish it up, but it was Greedfall. Remember Greedfall?
Vaguely.
It was about the colonization of a magical island. Had Mass Effect, like you were basically putting a crew in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I remember it.
So the combat, people, they were fine with it. Like that was one of the less interesting points of like the reviews. It was very much like a B, C tier game, right? It's getting a sequel in 2024, and the one thing that I'm calling out tonight, 2024.
That's so far away.
Well, if you think about all the games that we've just listed are coming out next in 2023, it's not that hard to think that a game that just got announced tonight would be 2024 when games that were announced 2 years ago are now coming out in 2023.
I suppose. I don't think anybody should be talking about a game that's coming out 2 years from now. Like that's not a thing. That's something you're working on, I guess. But that's why would you tell us that?
I don't know. Here's what's interesting.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his first name is, but I think he was a developer on it. Last name is Nacon, I think. Said Greedfall 2 will maintain a focus on story and player choice, but also includes a new gameplay in the form of more tactical combat. We found that Greedfall's combat not particularly exciting, so that should give the action part of the action RPG a bit more zing, although hopefully not at the expense of the RPG side of things. So I'm curious if this means that they're going to be moving to turn-based or more of a tactics thing, where I think that they could adopt some of the Three Houses approach to maybe what they do with combat. And that could be interesting, but I don't know if that's what they're going to do here or not.
I mean, that statement still mentioned action RPG, even if it might get more tactical. I could see it maybe going to more of like a Final Fantasy VII Remake situation where you can slow down or stop the action to choose some stuff, but you're still mainly fighting in real time. I could see that.
Anyway,
Okay.
It's not even real. It's a long time away.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. Chase, let's wrap this episode up.
Sounds
So,
good.
as we talked about, we've got some quick looks that are happening this week, some things that you should check out. If you want to follow along with anything that we do here at the Casual Hour, follow that link in chat, or you can go at the Casual Hour on social, or you can go to youtube.com/casual hour or twitch.tv/casual hour. Find out what we're talking about here. So this week, Johnny, when he was somewhat okay, joined us for one of our installments of Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time that we've been playing on Casual Mondays. Game was a lot better with third person. And
Really helped.
we had a good time. That was fun. We probably will not be playing that game for a little bit. I will go ahead and tell you all right now because I'm feeling very generous. We mentioned the play date this upcoming Monday. We're going to show you a little bit about that. Following Monday, game that I love, Hard Space Shipbreaker, Hits 1.0. We're going to stream. We're going to stream that. And Chase is going to watch me not blow myself up in space. So
Love it.
Those are next 2 Mondays. We have a quick look of that hotness, Citizen Sleeper, up on our YouTube channel. Watch it or don't, but we try not to spoil too much, but there's some spoilers.
Regardless of whether you watch us, go buy and play that game.
Go play it. Tonight, we told you a little bit about the games we've been playing. Tomorrow, we've got a really cool quick look going up for a game called Railbound. There's a demo out. It's from that studio that brought you Golf Peaks, and this looks to have a ton of promise. Great look, really cool little puzzle game. Worth your time. Free demo on PC right now. Check that out. And Friday night, at this moment in time of recording, I am thinking about getting real dirty while I get real clean. And Power Wash Simulator. Game I've streamed before. It's going to be a very, very, it's been a long week. Thought that'd be a great way to unwind, have a tight little stream. So, Chase, we talked about the playdate earlier. You talked about that really cool episode of Gamers on the Go. Why don't you talk a bit more about Gamers on the Go?
Yeah, like I said, Bobby and our good friend Jiggy-san joined me for an episode of Gamers on the Go about the playdate and about the hardware, about the first 2 weeks of content, and about a couple of our favorite things that we've been side-loading onto that device.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really good discussion, and we're gonna keep doing episodes of that as the season rolls out and more of those content games drop each week. So look forward to seeing more episodes. We'll probably do another one in 3-ish weeks. We'll see. But you can find that at gamersonthego.com. And other than that, I also have a YouTube channel at ChaseK Plays. Johnny and I finished our Pokemon Shining Pearl Nuzlocke run, and you can go watch all of those episodes there, all 16 of them. And now I've been taking a bit of a break, but I think I'm about ready to play the next game on there. I did announce it on Gamers on the Go, so I guess I'll announce it here as well. I'm going to be playing through Steam World Heist, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And I think that'll be a fun one to take a nice little stroll through. And I'm going to play with that DLC, the Outsider DLC, and just have a good time, collect some hats, and show people why I think that game is really brilliant. So look forward to that.
Awesome.
JCK Plays.
That's great. That's going to be our show. Please come back and hang out Friday night as we're doing some power washing. And we've teased out a lot of cool shit for Chase's channel for the future Monday streams we've got going on here. So set some reminders, like, subscribe, follow, leave a review, all those fun things. It helps. And we'll see you all right back here Friday night. Take care.